Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality coming back with you here today with part 2 of the 25 greatest or best baseball players of all time, as brought to you by MSN is where I found it, or New Arena, I guess, would be where it's from. So it's from a day ago from the time I'm recording this, which would be, I'm recording it on February 12th, and this would be from February 11th. But we're going to continue on with the list and just kind of dive right into it. Again, the rules that I gave myself arbitrarily in the last video were if there's someone that I agree with that's on here, pretty much just going to say yeah. If there's someone I don't agree with, I'm going to give reasons why. I might even give some reasons for the people that I agree with as well. So diving right in, number 12, Stan Musial, Stan the Man. Obviously, I'm not this old. I never got to see him play. And a funny anecdote for me about Stan Musial is that years ago, a buddy of mine at work used to do like baseball trivia with each other all the time. Like we'd go to baseballreference.com, which is an excellent website if you're a baseball fan that you should absolutely know and use all the time because it's fantastic. And no, I'm not sponsored by anybody, much less them. I'll have to say that. It's just a great website for baseball freaks. But we used to do trivia all the time about like top 10 this and like whatever it was, an offensive player. Stan Musial was inevitably someone that was on the list, and he was the one guy that like nobody would ever remember that was on the list. So we have a running joke even now if there's like a trivia thing that comes up, we'll just kind of go like, well, first guess now is like Stan Musial because it's like even if it's not a baseball question, we're like Stan Musial. So I just think that's kind of funny that he became kind of a good joke, I will say. But yeah, at number 12, 100%, you can make an argument for Stan Musial being in the top 10 as well. Probably, as I kind of alluded to by accident, but still alluded to nonetheless, he's probably the most overlooked great baseball player of all time. So if you don't know who he is, go look up his stats. You're going to be wowed by it. I mean, he's like in the top 5 or 10 in like practically every offensive stat you could possibly imagine, and he's the guy that like people are like, wait, who? Unless you live in St. Louis, of course. But again, definitely worthy of being number 12 for sure. Then Abed is number 11. I'm just kidding. Number 11 is Pedro Martinez. And yeah, if you ever saw Pedro pitch, I mean, it was like just what's it called? Like an occurrence watching. It was like I don't know what the word is I'm looking for right now. I'm really tired, but you want to watch this dude pitch, and he just made hitters look like fools out there. And it was like he had all this off-speed stuff that you were just like, I don't know where the hell the ball's going next. I don't know if he necessarily should be at number 11. Top 25 I don't have a problem with. But again, I don't think he should necessarily be number 11. Like there's only 10 guys in baseball that play that are better than him, but was dominant as hell when he pitched. People didn't like facing him, and competitive is all hell too. But yeah, I don't have a problem with him being on the list. I like Pedro. Pedro's cool. So yeah, there we go. So on to the top 10 best baseball players of all time. Let's go ahead and get it started with Mickey Mantle. And I remember when I was going through this list, I went through it the first time, and I think I went through it too fast because I was like, wait, did they not have Mickey Mantle on this freaking list? And I went back and I'm like, oh, okay, he's number 10. I'm fine with that. So the Mick, yeah, as it says, I can see the little blurb here. It says the greatest switch hitter of all time. Don't take any issue with that. I don't even think that's a debatable thing to mention. So if you want to see something about Mickey Mantle that's cool, even though it's based on a true story, is the movie 61. That's about the 1961 home run chase, but also about breaking Babe Ruth's record at that time of 60 home runs by hitting, of course, the 61st. Thomas Jane plays Mickey Mantle. Barry Pepper plays Roger Maris, and Anthony Michael Hall's in it. He plays Whitey Ford, and so on and so forth. It's directed by Billy Crystal, actually. It's a very, very good movie, and I just thought I'd mention that because it's a very enjoyable movie. And it shows you like how loved Mickey Mantle was in Yankeedom and just the kind of BS Roger Maris had to go through while he was on that dual chase with the Mick to get to the 61 home runs and who was going to get there first. And 63-year-old spoiler, it was Roger Maris. But yeah, Mickey Mantle absolutely deserves to be on this list. And man, if he hadn't had as many injuries as he had in his career, I shudder to think what his numbers would be. I think they'd be insane. But yeah, let's go ahead and move forward. Absolutely should be in the top 10, Mickey Mantle. And most of this top 10, I'm not going to have a problem with. Walter Johnson. I said in my video yesterday when I was talking about Christy Mathewson that there was another pitcher that was a contemporary of Christy Mathewson's, pitched a little later than Christy Mathewson, that was going to be on the list later on, and well, we found him, and he is one of my all-time favorite players. This guy had stats that were just, even for their time, were insane. Second winningest pitcher of all time behind Cy Young. Pitched for the Washington Senators, as they were at the time. Eventually moved to Minnesota and became the Twins. But yeah, absolutely deserves to be in the top 10, I think, without question. Dominant as any player has ever been that's played the game from the pitching side. In fact, I don't think there's a pitcher ahead of him on here. There might be. I might be missing somebody. But we're going to leave it at that. Maybe I'll make a fool out of myself in a minute. But if he is the top pitcher on here, trust me, it's well worth it. And he should absolutely be. And there might be, if there is someone ahead of him, then okay, I don't even remember who that would be. But again, I'm totally fine with him being in the top 10 of all time. Let's go to number 8. Is this ad here? No, it's not. It is Lou Gehrig, my all-time favorite baseball player. Michael Jordan's my all-time favorite athlete in any sport, but Lou Gehrig, just, I mean, yeah. I mean, how do you even describe it? Just, I mean, you're batting behind Babe Ruth, you know, and you're a stud as it is, and has the unfortunate designation of having a disease named after him. But yeah, and if he hadn't gotten that, he was still rocking and rolling too up until that happened with the disease, and his stats could be even bigger than they are right now. So he missed like the end of his career. And again, he was the year before the ALS diagnosis. I've read his biography. I read it like 20 years ago or something. He was still kicking ass. He really wasn't slowing down that much. It was the disease that essentially ended his career, but absolutely 100%. If he wasn't in the top 10, I wouldn't even be making these videos because I would have burned down my apartment. I'm kidding. In Minecraft, it's a joke, but yeah. So absolutely deserves it. I have no problem with him being at number 8. Number 7, A-Rod. Okay, so we have a modern player here. I don't have a problem with A-Rod being here because, yeah, I mean, he was one of the greatest players of his era. If maybe you could probably even make an argument that he was the greatest. And of the shortstops that he was contemporaries with, like Jeter and Nomar, I think A-Rod turned out to be the best out of all of them. So just to go down here, let me just see something really here. 14-time All-Star, 10-time Silver Slugger, which is most home runs for the position that you play. And World Series champion. Okay, so he did one time. 3 seasons, 50-plus homers, and 8 years of 40-plus. He still won 2 Gold Gloves. And yeah, he says he's not going to make the Hall. I don't know why he's not in the Hall of Fame. Stop with the PED bullshit and just put him in. Absolutely, 100% deserves to be there. You don't take, again, one of the best players at his position and just go, yeah, we're not going to put him in the Hall of Fame because we think he may have done something. I don't know if he actually did or not, but put him in the Hall. He absolutely deserves to be there. Maybe he's not necessarily a top 10 player of all time, but I don't have a problem with him being on a top 25 list. Next, number 6, Ty Cobb. What else do you have to say about Ty Cobb? He was like one of the first, or probably was maybe the second superstar, or maybe the first real superstar. I was thinking Honus Wagner may have been the first real superstar of baseball, but he was probably the first star, but Ty Cobb was really like the first superstar of the sport and did things back then in hitting that some of the stuff is even hard to get to right now. I mean, even think of Ricky Henderson, only in the 90s broke his stolen base record. Pete Rose in the 80s broke his hits record. I mean, he held these records for decades. And yeah, it's definitely one of the hardest players and one of the best players of all time. Zero issue with him whatsoever being in the top 25, even the top 10. I'd probably even make an argument for him to be in the top 5, but no issue here because I have 5 really good players to go here who all probably should be listed ahead of Ty Cobb, so let's hit it. And it's not this person with a nose ring. It is Hank Aaron. Again, why even argue this point? Absolutely deserves to be here. You can make an argument for him at the number 1 spot. Not even a question about that. And in fact, all these top 5 guys, if I remember correctly, and I'm looking at the bottom right now because I know who's number 1 was not showing there. It'll probably show as soon as I click on the next thing again to fill out the bottom. Yeah, all of these guys in the top 5, you can make a case for being the best player of all time. And if you were to tell me right now you think Aaron's the best player of all time, I'd say, okay. Not going to get an argument from me about that. So why even bother trying to convince you about anything? Deserves to be in the top 5. That's not even an issue. One of the greatest players of all time. Rest in peace, Hank. Ted Williams at number 4, maybe the greatest pure hitter of all time, and whose numbers would undoubtedly be much larger had he not missed, I think, between World War II and the Korean War, I think 4 or 5 years of time. So he could have much, much larger numbers than he did. Still deserved everything. Absolutely deserves to be in the top 5. If he wasn't in like the top 10, I'd probably be like, again, burning my apartment down and be like, yeah, you guys don't know what the hell you're talking about. No issue here whatsoever. Let's go to number 3. Willie Mays. Again, another guy you can make an argument to be the best baseball player of all time. Again, like Hank Aaron, if you were to tell me that you think Willie Mays is the best baseball player of all time, I'd be like, I don't disagree with you necessarily. So it's a good argument to have. Don't have an issue here. Again, one of the best baseball players ever. I wish I could have seen him play too, but that would have been more for my parents' generation as opposed to mine. You can see number 2 here, and when I got to number 2, it was not this lady that you're looking at right now. It was this man right here. I was like, who the hell could be number 1? And I wasn't looking down here. In fact, I didn't even notice that these icons were here until I was recording the first video. So I was just kind of like, who the hell is number 1 if Babe Ruth is number 2? And, I mean, easily the most recognizable name on this list, bar none, hands down. Everybody in the world, even in places where there's no baseball, knows who Babe Ruth is. Next to Michael, or probably more so than Michael Jordan, is one of the most recognizable names in the history of any sport, anywhere in the world. If you don't think he deserves to be in the top 5 baseball players of all time, you're dumb, and I don't want to talk to you ever again. Okay, but yes, absolutely deserves to be here. In fact, my personal opinion is I would have put him at number 1. So there's a controversial pick coming up at number 1, who you may be able to figure out based on this. And after a very minor amount of thinking, I was like, I don't necessarily disagree, but at the same time, I'm like, are we using some more recency bias like we have been on some of this to put this person here? And that person at number 1 is Barry Bonds. And again, don't give a shit about the PED stuff. He absolutely, I think, did use them, but I don't really care. Whatever. Doesn't matter to me. But even then, I mean, even before he went to the Giants, his Pittsburgh numbers were massive, and he deserved to be in the Hall of Fame, probably based on just what he did in Pittsburgh. No problem with him being on the top 25, even the top 10, even the top 5. I probably would put him at number 5, and all the guys that are 4, 3, 2, and 1, I'd push them up a spot. I might switch around Ted Williams and Hank Aaron. So my top 5 might be Ted Williams and I'd be Barry Bonds. I'm sorry. Then Ted Williams, Hank Aaron, Willie Mays, and Babe Ruth in that order. But again, I mean, you could kind of just juggle those guys around, and if any one of them came out to be number 1, it'd be like, yeah, and even Ty Cobb you might throw in there. But I think with this one, there might be some sort of recency bias on here. He does deserve to be in the top 10, I think, unquestionably. But maybe the recency bias is the thing that's putting him at number 1 above the Babe. Let's see here. So I just want to see what it says really quick. Yeah, the home run year. Okay, so only member of the 400, 400, 500, 500 club. So stolen bases and home runs. And yeah, okay, yeah, walked more than anybody. I mean, they put up a good argument here. With a 400, it says, Matty Wood's numbers look like he didn't have nearly 400 more walks than any player in history. That's dumb. 249 intentional walks. Let's see, and I think, here it says from 249 intentional walks. Whatever his intentional walks number is for his career, I know is like stupidly more than the next person. And yeah, I remember just the fact that he was easily the most feared hitter of his generation, without question. I mean, I think there's a story that he was walked with the bases loaded one time because the other team's manager was like, yeah, we're not going to even try with him to see what happens. We're just going to go ahead and just put him on base, take that threat away. But yeah, there you go. So overall, even though we just went through 12 through 1 on this video, what do you think about, first of all, 12 through 1 here? If you don't agree with this, who from maybe the prior list would you put on, this list, the top 12 that we did this time, 12 through 1? Or just overall between the two videos, who would you put on there at all anyway? Let me know in the comments below. I'd like to have that discussion. Like, share, subscribe, and I will talk to you soon.